Welcome everyone. In this lab review, we will review the female reproductive system, including external genitalis, internal reproductive organs, ovary, histology of ovary, follicle development, and the structure. Whatever we study will be on your lab practicals. It's from the models, histology slides, diagrams, and dissection. The ovary has, when we look at the ovary as a whole has two major regions. Outer cortex and inner is the medullary region. You see all these vocabulary structures, so make sure you identify in the ovary. This is everything what we see, this terminology inside the ovary. So this is an ovary, two of them in the normal human being. They have a cortical region. Cortex always what? Outer part. This inside is a medullary region. The covering of the ovary, see medulla, cortex. The covering around this one, tunica albuginea. See this one, the covering. When you look at the follicular development, follicle develop in several stages. Think about one of these. So it's like a fruits, maybe prunes, or that any fruits, apple. Outside is fruit, inside is what? Seeds. It's like this follicle is what? The fruity area. These oocytes they're talking about, they are like nuts or seeds inside it. This follicle development is in several stages you see inside the ovary. You can see it's closer to that outer layer, that is a primordial follicle. Then develop and mature follicle is going to form. So this first one is a primordial follicle, which is earliest stage. It contains primary oocytes surrounded by single layer of flattened follicular cells. The primary oocytes, this oocytes is this one, oocytes. This is a follicle around it. Primary oocytes is what? Diploid. That means 2N. That means 46 chromosomes. This primordial follicle become that cube shape cells that start dividing. You can see more around it. So this forming zona pellucida, this around it. The zona pellucida is a transparent glycoprotein layer that protect oocytes, these oocytes. So this is very important during the fertilization. So around that. So then next one is see primordial, primary, secondary follicle. They are larger and larger become. This particular secondary oocytes, secondary follicle, multiple layer of granulosa cells develop. Small fluid filled space, you can see that small, the blue color structure over here, that is filled with fluid. This cavity we called antral cavity, also inside antrum is there. Antrum. This fluid inside this antrum, this is antrum, follicular fluid. This graphium follicle is a mature oocytes, a mature follicle ready for ovulation. This is the ovulation site. So mature for ovulation. This kind of follicle does have a large and antral cavity. You can see look like a lake with the water inside. It's filled with the follicular fluid. Then around that oocyte is a mound of granulosa cells. Those cells we called cumulus oophorus. Cumulus oophorus, mound of cells around it. Then immediately surround the oocytes is a corona radiate. Corona radiate around this one. Corona radiate. That's very important, corona radiate. Which nourish and protect the egg, because it's not once ovulation happens, the follicle stay inside the ovary. Only oocytes with these cells we talk about, cumulus of oophorus, corona radiata, which will ovulated into that uterus. We will talk about the structure of that uterus. So this everything in this is a histology slide, maybe 40x. So ovary is large structure. When you look at that through that microscope, you may see that lower magnification to see everything in one slide. So all these things around the cortical region, primordial follicle, then primary follicle and secondary or the graphium follicle, you can see big antrum with the oocytes about to ovulation should be happening. See, this is a primary follicle. You can see only thin layer of the granulosa. Secondary follicle, you can see start seeing that antrum. So you can see some antrum here. Graphian about to ovulation happens. See here compared to antrum is big, antrum over here large. Here is small, but you can clearly see that. Primary follicle. This is secondary. No, this is a graphian. Or is ovulation happen because we cannot see that oocytes. So this one is a primordial follicle is going to this direction, is getting larger and bigger and larger. You can see here primordial follicle around again. You can see primary. This is a secondary. This is all larging that primordial follicle. You can see oocytes. Oh, here this one is only antrum. This is secondary. Secondary follicle. The same thing in this one enlarging here. This all follicular cells. See, this one I mentioned that cumulus operus and zona pellucida around it. This will nourishes that the oocyte, secondary oocyte. When you look at the graphium follicle, this all things about that fluid filled antrum, corona radiatum. This one is a mound-like structure around it. So this is a thin layer, zona pellucida. Then surrounding this coron radiatum over here, so this is all follicular cells. Again, this is a zona pellucida, oocyte, follicle, mound of that structure, which is a cumulus operus, corona radiatum. Okay, this one we already explained. Make sure you look at these structures. See. Make sure to test yourself. It's a bunch of pictures. We do have it. So the corona radiata, like I said, innermost layer of granulose cells surrounding oocyte. This main function, what I said, this is a nourish and protect the egg after ovulation. So this one, cumulus operus, there's also granulose cells that anchor the oocytes within the follicle, holding that to the follicle, because this is a follicular cells. It's the antrum with the fluid. So follicular cells, when you look at what is the function you're asking, they surround the oocytes, they nourish the developing egg and produce estrogen. This is what they do. They nourish the developing egg, is connected by that cumulus. Then also they produce estrogen. Like I say, central cavity filled with follicular fluid. It's going to enlarge when it's become mature. This zona pellucida, the surrounding the thin layer, they are protective glycoprotein layer surrounding this oocytes. Main function is helps to sperm recognize and bind to the egg during fertilization. This is a secondary oocyte. This one. The primary oocyte is diploid, I mentioned, 46 chromosome. Just before ovulation, I think I will see if I can. So this is a graphene follicle. This is about, okay, I will go back. So right before this ovulation, this produce secondary oocyte, which is a haploid. Haploid is what? N 23 chromosomes. Then secondary oocytes begin meiosis 2 but stops at remember that meiosis 1 and 2, study those. So it will stop meiosis 2. Then meiosis 2 is completed only if fertilization occurs. So this egg 23 chromosome, you remember primary 46 chromosome fused with sperm 23, fertilization happen. Then this if fertilization occurs, this complete meiosis 2. Otherwise it's going to stop at what? Metaphase 2. So histology, you guys have some idea what is the mainly ovary, what are the secondary primary follicle, how they look like in slide. So this is a female reproductive most external structures and internal structures. You make sure identify this mainly external genitalis. The external female genitalis are collectively we called vulva. The outer portion mons pubis is a fatty pad that cushions pubic bones. Labia majora, outer structure, is a fatty pad that cushion pubic this labia majora is the outer fold of skin that protect the reproductive organs. The inner one labia minora, thin layer compared to that labia majora, that surround the urethral and vaginal opening, because the same opening for that area for that urinary system and for that vaginal opening, reproductive structure. And clitoris, this female erectile tissue and is highly supplied with the nerves. This is actually that primary organ for sexual arousal in female. External urethral opening allow urine to leave the body. Vaginal openings serve as a passageway for menstrual flow, childbirth, and sexual intercourse. So if you look at the deep internal female reproductive organs, this is a lateral view. We can see ovaries. We can see fimbriae over here. Fimbriae is the finger-like projections that is sweep the ovulated oocytes we talk about. Is ovaries, ovulation happen here, then fimbriae sweep the ovulated oocytes into the uterine tube. This is a uterine tube. Then uterus, this is a muscular structure. Is vagina over here. I will explain. Clitoris, we talk about that one, this portion. So pubic symphysis connecting that to pelvic regions. Then vagina we talk about. This is a muscular structure, bladder. Don't confuse with the bladder with the uterus in other models. So here you can see urinary bladder anteriorly, uterus is over here. This is a digestive tract. We have a female has 3 openings compared to the male. Male has only, they use for the reproductive and urinary, there is a one opening. So here that urinary bladder, uterine tube, this is a vagina. So we have 3 openings. This is the uterus, muscular structure. This is a uterine tube or called fallopian tubes. This is the ovary. So ovaries produce oocytes. Once ovulation happens, sweep that into that fallopian tubule, come here and implanted in the inside the uterus. The fertilization usually occurs in ampulla, the wildest, this portion over here, the uterine tube. Fimbriae, you see the fimbriae is like a finger-like structure, projections. Like I said, they sweep the ovulated oocytes into that uterine tube. Uterus is where the implantation happening and the development of the pregnancy. So you can see uterus, fallopian tube, fimbriae here. This portion, vagina, is a muscular canal that function as a birth canal and passage for menstrual flow. Intercourses happen here. Cervix, lower portion of that uterus open to vagina. Let's see. So 3 muscular layers. Perimetrium is the outer layer, perimetrium. I want to see different colors I can put it. Perimetrium is the outer layer, peri. This one, middle, myo, muscle. Myo means what? Muscle. The inner portion, endometrium. Then you see cervix, lower portion of the uterus. Like I said, vagina is a muscular structure. That's the main structure. You can see everything on this model. This is a ovary. You can clearly see. You can see that fallopian tube connected to the uterus. Now we can see development. So look at these structures in the early development. So human development, this is a human reproductive structures we study. Human development begins at the fertilization. We talk about that sperm and egg fused and forming fertilized egg, which is usually occurs, like I said, that ampulla of that uterine tube. Like that's we just saw that during fertilization, a sperm cells fuse with the secondary oocytes. Okay, sperm fused with the secondary oocytes. Then this forming what? Zygote. Zygote is diploid. Sperm is haploid, then forming diploid zygote. So this is the first cell of a new individual, any human. Then you remember that happening in that fallopian tube. Once the fertilized sperm has to come all the way here, the ovary should be here, the uterus. So uterus, so this will sperm travel over all the way here to fertilize. Then zygote is formed, is traveled to that uterus. It undergo rapid cell division called cleavage. See that zygote was one celled, one nucleus, fertilized egg. Then they start dividing 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells. This process we called cleavage. This cell division, once they divide, they forming a structure called morula. That's happened 16 cells. It's like a solid ball. Maybe playing basketball. It's a solid ball of cells. The morula then develop into blastocyte. See here, this is about 70 to 100 cells. This one, the beginning is going to be like contain that inner cell mass. So this then they develop into like this. See outer cells and inner mass cells. This outside is called trophoblast. trophoblast become placenta. This inner mass cells become so about 6 to 7 days after fertilization, the blastocytes implants into endometrium. Remember that endometrium is what? Inner layer so second layer, then third layer. So somewhere in the inner layer, implant that blastocytes implant into that endometrium. This is a uterus. So where that embryonic developments start forming, like all these things we see. So do germ layers, we will talk about that one. So this is what happened. This is that ovulation taking in that secondary oocytes go, that if fertilization happens once, then they move towards, see that the development is a cleavage happening. So they implanted on that endometrium of the uterus. During the third week of development, embryo form 3 primary germ layers. That's very important. The process is called gastrulation. So the germ layers give rise to every tissue and organs in the body. Muscles, bones, epithelial cells, everything. So ectoderm, that's ecto means outside, out. Ecto. The outer layer and develop into nervous system, brain, of course, spinal cord. This all in part of the nervous system. Skin, hair, nail. That's a integumentary system. Then also in the enamel of the teeth, is all things coming from that ectoderm. Then mesoderm, if you look at that, the middle layer of which is mainly form muscles, bones, connective tissue, heart is a part of the bone, muscle, blood, kidneys, and most of the reproductive organs. The endoderm is the inner layer form lining of digestive tract, respiratory tract, liver, pancreas, thyroid, urinary bladder, etc. If you cannot remember, think about ectoderm is equals to exterior structure, mesoderm in the middle tissue, endoderm is the internal organs or organ or linings. So once implantation happens, this is a uterus, implantation happens, embryo develop inside the uterus. As the development continues, the embryo become a fetus after the 18th week of pregnancy. So the uterus provides environment where the fetus grow and develop until birth. Stays here. So throughout this pregnancy, the fetus need oxygen, where they're getting receive the oxygen and nutrients from the mother through a structure called placenta. For you think, okay, what is a waste product? They are removed through the same connection. We're going to go over some of the structures. So make sure you know these things. See, ectoderm, outer, mesoderm, and endoderm. 3. Yolk sac. They have amniotic fluid. The cavity filled with amniotic fluid. This is endometrium because as a part of the uterus, stay inside. This one is connecting to the mothers to fetus, chorion. This is a maternal blood. So here, so placenta is a temporary organ that developed during pregnancy and serve as the connection between mother and the fetus. So this is placenta. The structure around. What do they do? Like I said, the main function of placenta is deliver oxygen, nutrients to the fetus, removing carbon dioxide and waste product, producing important hormones such as human chorionic, gonadotropin, progesterone, estrogen, and helping support fetal growth throughout the pregnancy. Even though they provide the nutrients coming from from here, everything they exchanging, but maternal and fetal blood normally do not mix it directly. Now, this developing fetus is enclosed within amniotic sac. See, amniotic sac. So that will protect the fetus throughout the pregnancy. So like I said, inside the sac there is a fluid which is called amniotic fluid. They have few functions. It cushions the fetus against injury, help maintaining constant temperature. So also the fetus can move around freely. Then also muscles and bone development is very important. So also this umbilical cord, so prevent the umbilical cord from becoming compressed. So it's freely the fetus can move around in this fluid. So during the labor, the amniotic sac may rupture. You heard before that. Commonly referred as the water breaking. If you have a cross section of this placenta, we can locate chorionic villi. See over here, the finger-like structures over here. This, what is this means? This contain fetal blood vessels. So you can see this, it's not like a one blood vessel. It's come over here and making lot of projections like this. So what is they do? They increase the surface area for exchange between the mother and fetus blood. Things, nutrients going inside, waste coming, all these things are happening in this area. Then next one, you can see that mother's blood supply over here. Throughout everywhere is the mother's blood, where this surrounding the mother's blood is surrounding that chorionic villi. Then umbilical cord. This umbilical cord, okay, this one all together. This containing two arteries, umbilical arteries, you can see is going, dividing two umbilical veins. Here one of the exception about the arteries. Most of the arteries carry oxygenated blood. Here the umbilical arteries carry oxygen poor blood, that means deoxygenated blood, and waste product from fetus to placenta. Is bringing everything waste and deoxygenated blood to that uterus. So in this fetus respiratory structures is not developed, they don't breathe. So where they getting oxygen? From mom. Umbilical vein carry oxygen rich blood, nutrient and oxygen rich blood from placenta is going back, placenta to that fetus. So amnion is a membrane surrounding the fetus. We study amnion surrounding the fetus. And chorea. So chorions are the outer fetal membrane that contribute to the formation of placenta. So as you prepare for this lab practical, you be sure you can identify the stages of early human development, three germ layers, major structures, placenta, make sure you know amniotic sac, amniotic fluid, then external and internal female reproductive structures. So then ovary, histology. Those are the things. So make sure you look at, if you have anything, you can look at these videos. Also, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the lab. And if you have any question, put the comments. Okay, thank you.